can you tell us your name and where you're from?
Yes, so my name is Faraaz. I'm from London and I'm currently a third-year medical student at the Medical University of Silesia.
And why did you choose to study medicine in Poland?
So in Poland it's within the EU and also it's GMC accredited, and it also gave me an opportunity to study outside of the UK in a place which is not too far from home.
And how useful has our service been to you in getting into medicine?
So the service has allowed me to streamline my application, to know where my efforts are best put, and to get a deeper understanding as to what the process entails and what can I expect from the application process and also from the medical schools.
And can you elaborate more on the benefits of Europa Medicine services to you?
Yeah, sure. So at the time of my medical school application, I was working and therefore I didn't have enough time to do in-depth independent research. The team at EuropaMedicine were made up of experts within the field and also students who had studied abroad themselves. So I had a deeper understanding from personal experiences and anecdotes as to what I can sort of be facing, and if there were any challenges and if there were any things that I should be looking out for, therefore putting my chances at best.
And did we help you understand what it's like to study in Poland?
Yes, so Habib and the team, as aforementioned, they were made up of students who had studied here themselves, so I was given an insight of personal experiences. I knew exactly what the medical school curriculum entailed and also knew the best ways of studying for the program, and also how I can best put my chances within success in my medical career.
And do you feel your application was boosted with our help?
Yes, so Habib and the team helped me sort of collate the documents, the appropriate documents, exactly what I needed to do, where I needed to do it, and how I needed to do it. So I feel as though it saved me a lot of time. It prevented me from making any mistakes and any faults which could have hindered my application. And all in all, I thought it was beneficial, and I was better off going through Europa Medicine.
And how did you feel about the mock interview and the mock exam? Do you feel that helped with the actual exam?
I feel as though the mock exam was a very good simulation of what I could have expected at the actual exam. So the types of questions that were asked of me and the types of responses that I was given were sort of a very good simulation of what actually happened on the test day. I feel as though the advice that I was given to perhaps streamline my answers or saying this instead of that was what made the difference within me getting the medical school place and not getting the medical school place.
And how did Europa Medicine help with accommodation and settling in?
So I was put within sort of the dormitory accommodation as soon as I moved in. I was given clear indication as to where this place was and how much the living expenses were. I feel very comfortable living within dormitory accommodation. It's only a 2-minute walk from where I have to study. So given all this information, I felt that it was a much easier process moving than it would have been if I'd done this independently.
And do you feel safe living in Poland?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm currently residing within Ligota, which is the medical school area of Katowice. And unless you go looking for trouble, as with anywhere, you won't encounter it. So I feel very safe living here, and I've made many friends, both internationals and Polish students.
Sure, thank you. And do you feel, would you recommend our services to new students?
Yes, absolutely. I feel as though because there are a plethora of medical schools, and especially coming from a very UCAS heavy system in the UK or sort of relevant systems abroad, students may not necessarily know exactly where to best put their efforts, which schools are suitable for them, and where their applications are best placed. So for my instance, I felt as though because I was getting expert advice as to people who'd actually studied from these places, that I was given a much better advantage than other students who perhaps did it independently.
And what about the social aspect of it? Is there, activities or social activities that you guys do?
Yes, so other than sort of cramming out textbooks sort of 24/7, we do have time to sort of socialise. It's healthy, and it's also recommended for medical students to engage within social activities every now and then. So there are plenty of things to do, especially here in Katowice. For instance, you're able to do sort of horse riding, you're able to go to cinema, you're able to go for dinners, and a lot of these activities are marginally cheaper than what it would have been back home. So it's a nice experience to be able to actually do these things as well as sort of extracurricular activities in Poland.
And what about eating places, restaurants? Is it similar to London, or is it only Polish food?
So no, because Katowice is growing and becoming a lot more multicultural. There are restaurants from all kinds. So there are Arab restaurants, there are Mediterranean restaurants, vegetarian food sources, kosher food sources, halal food sources. So as long as you know where to look, there are certainly a lot of places which cater for different tastes.
And what's the weather like in Poland?
So I would say the weather is not as wet as it is back home in London. However, in the summer it gets very hot, in the winter it can get very cold, but it's certainly livable and certainly bearable.
And what about transportation costs and taxis?
So, as with all living expenses here, and it's very affordable. For instance, if I were to take a bus into the city centre, it would cost me the equivalent of about 33 pence or 35 pence. The same with the train tickets, or if you decide to visit other cities within Poland, you can expect marginally cheaper travelling expenses than if you were to be doing these things back home. So in that respect, it's certainly much more advantageous.
And do you get student discount?
Yes, so as soon as you enroll here, you're given a student card, and you can use that student card for many more things than you would have back home. Especially considering you don't have to sort of apply for like an NUS card or anything that's the equivalent back home. So it's already cheap without a student card, but it's even cheaper for students who want to experience these things.
Okay. And what would you recommend? So which university would you recommend for students who are applying to Poland, and why?
So which university? So me personally, as I'm studying here in Katowice, I'm happy here. It's certainly based upon student experiences. Some students perhaps would prefer Lublin. It all depends as to how the curriculum mirrors your sort of learning style. So I would say I'm quite an independent learner, and I'm quite hands-on. So here in Katowice, in Medical University of Silesia, there is a simulation center. There are a lot of hands-on experiences that we have, and a lot of surgical, heavy sort of clinical experiences that we face. So those are quite inclined to my interests. So I would have to say Silesia in my case.
Thank you. And do you have to speak Polish? Do you learn Polish? Is your teaching only in English, or how is it?
So, of course, everything medically related, all your lectures, all your seminars, all the clinical experiences you have are based in the English language. You do have Polish lessons, and although it's beneficial to learn Polish, it's not necessary, especially when it comes to the clinical years and you have to speak to patients. And of course it helps that you know Polish, because it's predominantly the younger population who can speak more English than the older population, and a lot of patients unfortunately are of the older generation. However, that being said, it's very comfortable living here, even perhaps just knowing English.
And where do you plan to practice medicine after you finish?
So the plan for me is to practice back home in London. And given that it's GMC accredited, that hopefully shouldn't be a problem for me. And also knowing that there is a UKMLA test being introduced, and that is for both internationals and UK graduates, so it doesn't perhaps make as much of a difference if I were to graduate in the UK or if I were to graduate within the EU.
So you don't have any extra exams that you have to sit as an international student?
So we do. We have the UKMLA exam, which is being introduced in 2019. As of now, if I were to graduate right now, no. But the UKMLA is both a universal standard for international medical graduates and also UK medical graduates. So that shouldn't really be a deciding factor anyway, as it's universal for both sort of standards.
Sure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.